FedEx Forum, and the American Home Shield Studio. This is The Odds Couple on GrindCityMedia.com. Handicapping all the football action, here's Rob Fischer and Lang Whitaker.
Hello, good people. Welcome to The Odds Couple. Getting you set for Week 8 of the college football season after a very eventful Week 7. We will handicap all the action out of the SEC, Memphis Tigers, a little taste of the NFL as well. Coming up on the program today, big tilt in the Big Ten that we'll get to. Lance Taylor will join us from WJOX in Birmingham to handicap the action with us here this afternoon. We'll have a visit from Vinnie Verno again. We'll have our picks and so much more coming your way here on The Odds Couple. Hello, Lang Whitaker.
What's up? How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm wearing black for Kirby Smart today in Georgia, and our chances this season
Yeah, we decided not to put their helmet out here today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a rough Saturday.
Yeah, I imagine that was one of the things you learned over the weekend.
I learned several things. Number one, I think really the big picture thing for me is trust. It comes down to trust with these teams. Who do you trust? Like, I don't trust Kirby and Fromm. I'm done. Sorry. I said last week, when you play Georgia, it's death by 1,000 cuts with Fromm. Well, he got like 900 cuts, but he didn't get to 1,000. Right. They lost. That's what happens. I trust Tua. I trust Saban. I trust Dabo mostly. Trevor Lawrence, okay. The one I'm almost there with is Joe Burrow and Coach O. Like, I'm right there with them. I need like one more little nudge to get over the hump. And Justin Fields and Ohio State, they're probably right there too. The one that I waffle on the most is Oklahoma and Jalen, because as good as they looked, we know he can't get it done in the big games. Like, he got pulled from big game 2 years ago. Came in and saved their butt last year, though. So they're the one that I'm a little bit still waffling on. But trust is really, to me, the big picture thing with these teams, and I don't have it with some of these guys.
Yeah.
I learned college refs stink. Well, I'm sure we'll talk more about that with Memphis, but I mean, as bad as they are in the NFL, they're bad. They're worse in college. I mean, there was play after play Saturday where you're just seeing replays of pass interference calls and holding calls and all sorts of stuff, and you're just like, can we just stop having so many plays that are decided by referees?
Yeah.
Like, let's just let these guys play. Number 3, this is probably get us excommunicated from this show, but we could almost do a full non-SEC show of the Odds Couple at this point. There's 10 of the top 15 teams are not from the SEC.
Right.
You can flip that around and say, well, yeah, but a third of them are from the SEC. But there's a lot of good teams that aren't in the SEC. And, you know, from going at the beginning of this season where we thought there could be 3 teams in the college football playoff that are SEC teams, now I think you're probably going to get 1.
Yeah.
And you might have to be happy with that.
Yeah, and I'm starting to look, too. I got my AutoZone Liberty Bowl shirt on today, wondering if the AutoZone Liberty Bowl is going to have an SEC team, because there are 5-6 teams that might not make a bowl this year.
Right,
in the
yeah.
SEC.
And there's some teams that I'm curious could make a bowl. Like, maybe we'll get there in a minute, but Tennessee?
Maybe?
I don't know.
A couple of things I learned last week. Kirby was out-coached. Those
totally.
last couple of minutes were just a disaster, and if there was any thought of Will Muschamp losing his job, that saved it, because that was his signature win. That was huge.
Yeah. I mean, your signature. I mean, they didn't score after Helinski got knocked out.
Right.
They just kind of hung in there and managed to get a field goal in overtime to win the thing. And Georgia, it's like those two guys, like Muschamp and Kirby, was like, did you see the GIF that was going around Twitter of like the one guy digging the trash, digging dirt and putting it in the wheelbarrow, but the other guy was putting it back in the hole? Right. That was those two guys trying to coach against each other. It was like they couldn't get out of each other's way, and somehow South Carolina kind of got less worse coached than Georgia did down the stretch.
Yeah.
But that was good win for South Carolina. They'll take it.
Huge. And the other coaching thing, too, Joe Moorhead just looks confused.
We found Moorhead is the ATM repairman. Yeah. There was a broken ATM.
He fixed that ATM in Knoxville.
That ATM in Knoxville was broken, and Joe Moorhead said, let me take care of this thing.
Yeah.
No one wants free money, and he went up there and fixed that thing. So.
Yeah. I think another thing I learned this week, and maybe I've learned it throughout the weeks, Texas A&M's an average football team.
Yeah, they're not that great.
Which I think makes this matchup with Ole Miss interesting. This week, which I wouldn't have thought before the season began.
Except Ole Miss, like now they can't get out of their way, and they're going to play 2 quarterbacks. And you're like, Name one time in the history of football, any level that this has worked, having two quarterbacks. It's not going to work. We already know how this plays out.
Yeah. Also learned game day's not coming to Memphis.
Nah. Would have been fun.
That's not happening. And every time we get that hope up, it just gets dashed so quickly. That's not going to be happening. And speaking of last week and the Memphis Tigers, they suffer a controversial loss at Temple. Catch, no catch. It's been debated. I saw a replay on Twitter, and the one that I saw, I guess, was the one the officials saw, and I thought it was clearly an incomplete pass. And I feel like I'm the only one, and I can't find that video now, trying to go back and find it, because I'm like, well, maybe I was wrong. But and then hearing the broadcasters talk about they saw the replay after the game and said it clearly was an incomplete pass. I just don't know why the AAC hasn't just come out and said, all right, here's the video.
I haven't seen that video.
Right.
To me, the video I saw, it's like, okay, that's a catch. Like, where's the question? This is like that dress, and you don't know if it's brown or blue. Like, everyone sees it and sees two different things, and you're like, what is going on here? It's the perfect play for the internet age, where there's one clear thing that happened, but we don't know what it says. And the video I saw, like, I don't know how you think the ball hits the ground. His arm looks like it's underneath it, and either way, how is that indisputable?
Well, right. When the call on the field was a catch. Yeah, that was the biggest problem.
I also think, we always say, well, they shouldn't have put themselves in this position, right? Memphis shouldn't have had to rely on this to happen. Well, they kind of got themselves in that position. They played to the point where they had a chance down the stretch. We thought I said last week, Brady White might have to save him in this game because Temple's good against the run. They got to the chance where they were driving. They had a chance to win the thing, and that happens.
Yeah. Mike Norvell after the game talking about the no catch.
I thought he laid out. You thought he had his arms underneath it. I know there was movement within the ball, but it's a pretty big jumbotron, and it looked like his arm was underneath it. They did call it a catch on the field, and so I guess they had a more conclusive angle to decide that it was needed to be overturned. But from my vantage point on the jumbotron, it looked like it was a catch.
Did they give you any sort of explanation?
They didn't talk to me, so they let me hear it on the loudspeaker.
Tigers 4.5-point favorite this week against Tulane as they try to bounce back. Had over 500 yards of offense. Brady White 363 yards of offense passing, 2 touchdowns. Did have the pick and the 2 fumbles, and those turnovers killed them. Even though they held them to field goals after those turnovers.
Yeah, the Tulane game, that's a good game this week. That's not. There's no way that's just like an easy win for Memphis. I think Tulane's an underrated team.
We'll see if they bounce back. Meanwhile, Georgia Bulldogs just an embarrassing loss at home in Athens to the South Carolina Gamecocks, 20-17 in double overtime. The last 2 minutes were some of the worst coaching decisions and game management that I've seen, and to come from Kirby Smart, and to see them score just 17 points with 468 yards of offense against that South Carolina team playing their third quarterback was just stunning. It felt like one of those games where I was like, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Then all of a sudden you're up against it, and then they get the gift of the call at the end of regulation, the whole defensive holding to give them a chance. They get the touchdown. You thought, all right, in overtime they'll take care of it. Automatic kicker.
And Muschamp attempting that 55-yard field goal at the end of regulation. It's like Muschamp was like, I'll show you a bad coaching decision. And Kirby Smart's like, hold my beer. Yeah. The one thing I took away from that was like, how hard, like being a head coach in college is way more than just making that decision, right? Like there's recruiting and dealing with sponsors and partnerships and all this other stuff and alumni and fundraising and everything else. But there's still that's still part of it. Those decisions are still part of it. And I think like these guys, they clearly have never played Madden or NCAA 14. Like there's just little things like that, when there's 8 seconds left, you take a shot, it's not there, you get the field goal team on, you kick the field goal. You have like the guy who hadn't missed a field goal all season long. Let him at least try.
Right. He hit a 55-yarder. Yeah. I mean, why not try?
So I don't understand. Sometimes the common sense stuff doesn't happen, which is weird.
And Kirby afterwards, obviously disappointed, talked about the loss and what they need to do going forward.
Our kids are resilient. Our kids will continue to fight. We've got to look ourselves in the mirror as coaches, staff, and do a better job. We got to help our kids out. And I just told everyone I'm in the locker room, they can't hang their head. They got to go get better, and we got to help them get better. And the leaders in that room will do that, and that's part of it. When you play in the SEC, guys, every week you've got to be at your best because every team is 100% capable of out-physicalling you and outplaying you. And today, They played better than we did, and we didn't do a good enough job as coaches to help them out. Credit goes to them.
South Carolina.
My other takeaway is if you're Georgia, this is what happens when you don't have wide receivers.
Yeah.
You know, we were wondering all year who would step up. Larry Cager, my guy, got hurt at halftime, didn't play the second half. Demetrius Robinson caught the touchdown to tie it up and made a couple of big plays down the stretch, but Blaylock's been okay. Georgia's longest completion was 33 yards for that game. If you can't stretch the field and if you're going to run the ball up the middle every time, we could get into that too. It was a Jim Chaney-esque play-calling performance by Jim Coley. But if you can't spread the field out, then they're going to stack it up against you in the SEC, and it's nothing there.
Yeah, Georgia's got Kentucky this week. Since the playoffs started, they are the 5th top 3 team to lose at home against an unranked opponent. 3 of the previous 4, however, went on to make the playoff. So still hope there for Georgia. Meanwhile, LSU coming off a huge win, maybe the most entertaining game of the season. Yeah. Despite it being a 14-point outcome, it felt a lot closer throughout that game as LSU knocks off Florida 42-28 as those teams just went back and forth. And you thought once Florida got the lead, maybe they'd be in control of the game. But then once they gave that lead back up, you kind of felt it was in LSU's favor.
I thought Florida's defense was better than probably we thought they were going to be this year. They looked really good. My man Trash was more like Trask this week. He looked good. But LSU, they ran 48 plays.
Yeah.
They scored 42 points. They had 511 yards. I mean, Florida kept LSU off the field, but didn't matter. LSU's offense, to score 42 points and only run 48 plays, that against a really good defense, that LSU's going to be fine the rest of the way.
Yeah, Joe Burrow was great again. 21-24, 293 and 3 touchdowns. And afterwards, head coach Ed Orgeron was fired up.
It was wonderful to be the head coach at LSU. Watch my team in picture and see the fans so happy. What a big night for the Tigers. Okay, we'll say about offense. 511 yards, 42 points, no turnovers. The biggest stat of the night. No sacks. Credit to James Gray. The offensive line, they worked very hard. I throw scrambles sometimes. But what a great job by offense again. What a great job by defense. Only allowed 7 points in the second half. Tremendous adjustments by Coach Rand and the staff. Our guys kept playing. We put more pressure on them. We blitzed. They made plays. We made plays. I really think our guys emptied the tank tonight. Everything it took to beat this football team. It's a good football team that we beat. And those guys are some good coaches on the other side. But a great night for the Tigers. I do believe the winning edge was playing the Tigers team.
Now, do they have anything left in the tank? They don't need much in the tank this week against Mississippi State.
I don't know what he just said.
Go Tigers! Go Tigers!
The best part of the game, honestly, was at the very end when they got that 4-down stop to cover. Because Florida
4 down, it was like a 9-down stop.
Yeah. Florida was clearly trying to cover that score, and LSU got the stop. LSU's awesome. I think they deserve to be number 2. I'd put them ahead of Clemson right now.
19-point favorite at Mississippi State. LSU 5-0 against the spread this season. 4 of their 5 games have gone over. They've gone over in 7 of their last 8 games. They've won 16 of the last 17 in the month of October. Mississippi State's gone over in 4 of their 6 this year, over in 4 of their last 5 at home. They've lost 8 of 10 against top 10 opponents, but they are 13-4 against the spread at home. Head-to-head, LSU's won 17 of the last 19, including 9 of the last 10 in Starkville. The road team's won 3 of the last 6, and State's covered 4 of the last 5. The last 2 have gone under. It seems as though the numbers are trending towards Mississippi State covering, but I don't know how that's possible after what they did last week in Knoxville.
No, they scored 10 points against Tennessee.
They don't know who their quarterback is.
No, they're not going to win. They're not going to cover. They're not going to win. And I think I have LSU as one of my locks of the week.
Yeah. Speaking of Tennessee, they get a nice win. But now this, they have to go to Tuscaloosa.
Here's the thing. So they play Tuscaloosa this week. After that, they close out. They're 2-4 now, Tennessee is. They close out with their last 5 games, South Carolina, which is winnable, I would say.
We wouldn't have said that about Tennessee
who's the
last
quarterback?
week.
Yeah, well, we don't know who South Carolina's quarterback is, right? UAB? Kentucky?
Winnable.
Missouri? That's the one that might not be to me. Missouri, I feel like they've kind of found – they're 5-1 now, and they feel like they found their footing a little bit. And then Vanderbilt. There's a chance Tennessee finishes with 6 wins and gets to a bowl game this year.
I would bet against it.
You would bet against it. Yeah, I would too. I've been betting against them every week.
Especially after they get beat up.
I'm up 200-something GCUs.
That's right.
But I would say for Tennessee, it's not off the table quite yet.
Tennessee coming off the big win against Mississippi State. Jeremy Pruitt, head coach of the Vols, talking about the win and going forward.
got to be more consistent, in the run game. And some of that's got to do with, with the RPO game. If you're not going to block support and support's coming, you better give the guy the ball because there's nobody to block them. So some of that goes on the awareness of the quarterbacks, and we've got to do a better job with that. This is a great win for our program. And it's good for these guys who are working their tails off to have some fun.
Catching 34.5 in Tuscaloosa this week. Total at 61.5. Tennessee 1-4 against the spread this year, 9-20 against the spread their last 29. They've lost 33 straight to top 10 opponents, 17 straight on the road, 2-12 all time against the number one team in the country. They've gone under in 4 their last 5 on the road. However, here are a couple of good numbers for Tennessee. 50-31 against the spread on the road against winning teams. And 31-15 against the spread on the road in October.
I'll give you a number. Alabama, for Alabama, 51. That's how many points per game they're averaging this season. Number 2, that second in the country in points per game. So I think they're going to cover.
Won 36 straight as a double-digit favorite against SEC opponents, 20-16 against the spread, 29 straight at home, 25 straight against the East, going 17-8 against the spread, 87 straight wins against unranked opponents. And Nick Saban, again, the stat for the second week in a row.
That's what I was waiting for.
18-0 against former assistant coaches by an average score of 41-15.
Yeah.
Now, that would cover if it's 41-15. That would cover.
Yeah.
But it's going to be tough. Alabama's won 12 straight in the series. Last 11, Tennessee has averaged 11.8 points per game in the last 11 against Alabama. 6 of the last 7 have gone over thanks to Alabama, including the last 2.
Yeah.
That's going to be tough for the Vols. All right, it's that time of week again. Always a pleasure. He's not here again, though. He's on remote location again. Vinnie Verno joins us here on the program. Vinnie, where are you this week?
Oh, it's the odds couple. Of course you want to talk to me because I give you winners every friggin' week. Last week I was at that topless beach, but I had to bounce. I had to get out of there. So this week, I am in the most beautiful place on earth. Not really. But I'm in Oxford, Mississippi. I swear, there's like supermodels everywhere around this place. And I came here for one good reason. Tommy Lee Jones, Philip Seymour Hoffman, John Reese Plumlee, 3 weeks in a row, I've come on and I've told you about John Reese Plumlee. 37.5-point dog to Bama, covered. 7-point favorite over Vandy, covered by 1 million. Last week, 12-point underdog to Mizzou. They lose by 11. All John Reese Plumlee does is cover lines. And this week, they're underdogs at home to Texas A&M. They're catching 6 points. When I was a young boy, my great-grandfather, Vincenzo Verno, was dying in the hospital. And he was laying on his deathbed, and he walked in, and I walked into his room. And he said, Vinnie, come here. And I said, yes, Vincenzo. And he said, come here. And I said, yes. And he said, quit playing with your dinghy. And I said, what? He said, never. And I'm like, Vincenzo, please don't die. Please don't die. And he said, never give up on a good thing. And then he died in my arms. It was the saddest thing ever. And I never knew what he was talking about. Until John Reese Plumlee. That's 3 in a row. We're going 4 in a row. Ole Miss +6. Tommy Lee Jones, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Sam Michelle Gellar, Cruel Intentions, John Reese Plumlee, Ole Miss +6 over Texas A&M. It's my don't stop with a good thing. Give it a hip.
Thank you very much.
I think he hung up.
he had things to do there in Oxford. All right, Ole Miss plus the 6 against Texas A&M. We'll talk about that one coming up here in a little bit. Also, Lance Taylor going to join us when we come back. We'll take a break here on The Odds Couple. Rob Fischer, Lang Whitaker with you, getting you set for Week 8 of the college football season. We'll visit with Lance when we return here on Grind City Media.
Millions of fans have witnessed the concert experience that launched a one-of-a-kind rock holiday tradition. Trans-Siberian Orchestra, live in concert. The all-new Christmas Eve and Other Stories, presented by Hallmark Channel. December 19th, FedEx Forum. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Another Beaver production.
Attention Grizz Nation, single game tickets for the 2019-2020 season are on sale now. Tickets to the biggest games like the Lakers, Warriors, and more start at just $10 and are available for purchase at Ticketmaster.com, the FedEx Forum box office, online at Grizzlies.com/tickets, or by calling 1-800-4NBA-TICKS.
Grizz Nation, download the all-new, all-access, all-in-one Grizzlies mobile app. Get 3 new experiences with one app, including a fresh Grizzlies look and feel, along with new access to FedEx Forum events and Grind City Media news and notes on all things Grizzlies, football, and more. From podcasts to purchasing tickets, playing Pop-A-Shot, and more, the new Grizzlies app has it all. So don't delay. Upgrade your experience and download the new Grizzlies app today. Available now at the App Store and Google Play.
Just keep breathing. Global pop sensation Ariana Grande live in concert. The Sweetener World Tour 2019. FedEx Forum, Saturday, December 7th. Get tickets now at livenation.com. The #1 selling album, Sweetener, is available everywhere. There's more at arianagrande.com.
I'm living, so we turn it up.
Welcome back to GrindCityMedia.com, live from FedEx Forum and the American Home Shield Studio. Now, here's more of the Odds Couple, Rob Fischer and Lang Whitaker.
It is time, Memphis. Join Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant, your Memphis Grizzlies for opening night next Friday, October 25th at 7 p.m. as they play host to the Chicago Bulls. Arrive early to enjoy all the opening night festivities, plus all fans will receive a commemorative Grizzlies growl towel. Get Memphis and get your tickets today to see your next Gen Grizz. Call 901-888-HOOP or click online, Grizzlies.com. Welcome back to the Odds Couple. Rob Fischer and Lang Whitaker with you, getting you set for Week 8 of the college football season. Week 7, another great game that was out there. It was Oklahoma and Texas, a Red River rivalry shootout. Oklahoma never trailed in the game, beating Texas 34-27, racking up 511 yards, but maybe more importantly, 9 sacks defensively on Sam Ehlinger in that game. Impressive performance, impressive, steady, not as big of a shootout as we thought performance by Oklahoma.
I think Oklahoma's defense is I don't know. Are they there? Are they real? They gave up 27 points, but you could say they held them to 27 points.
Yeah.
You know, like it's better than last year when they were giving up 45 every single game and just having to outscore that. But I don't know if that holds up against a top 4 team, against a Joe Burrow, against a Tua. Does that? You know, I don't know if they're good enough to play those guys yet.
Yeah, it was a big win for Oklahoma. Afterwards, Lincoln Riley fired up in the locker room.
Here in a few years, okay, you're going to bring your son, your daughter back to this game. And what a heck of a memory to have with it, guys. Great job, man. Great job. This game is huge, but it is not as big as the rest of this season. What you showed us this week, what we showed ourselves, is when we lock in like we did, and we practice and prepare the way we can, okay, we will continue to make huge jumps as a team. This ain't a one-week deal. It was supposed to happen, just like we said, and it did happen. Last thing, everybody gets a game ball!
Yay!
All
Lincoln
right.
Riley, after the win last week. Oklahoma now 6-0 on the season. They got a bye this week.
Dallas Cowboys coach Lincoln Riley?
It's feeling like that could be the case. Joining us now, he is the host of the Roundtable on WJOX in Birmingham. He's on Twitter at @TheLanceTaylor, and you can get his picks daily at lanceslock.com. We'll tell you more about that coming up in a moment. But Lance Taylor joining us from Birmingham. Hello, Lance.
Good afternoon, fellas. Yes, I think when you look at most improved unit in college football, it's got to be LSU. But I would say Alex Grinch, what he's got going with that Oklahoma defense, that would be the second most improved unit in college football.
Yeah, we talked last week about Ohio State maybe being that best-looking team that, you know, we're giving so much credit to some other teams, but Ohio State might be that team. Where's Oklahoma in that top-tier field?
I mean, they've got to be up there. You know, guys, when I look at the schedule, the remaining schedule, I mean, you know, they're going to walk West Virginia off the field. They should have no problems with Kansas State, Iowa State. Baylor could be a little bit tricky. TCU, and then Oklahoma State Bedlam's always, you know, one of those games that they could give Oklahoma some problems. But, you know, I think at the end of the year, we're probably talking about a 13-0 Big 12 champion that's back in the college football playoff. And, you know, there's other teams, though, when you start to look at both Alabama and LSU, the way they're playing, it's hard to believe that those teams would be locked out. Clemson playing that joke of an ACC schedule. If they win out, you can't leave a defending champion out. You know, the way Wisconsin and Ohio State are both playing right now. And then, you know, Penn State's kind of that dark horse that's undefeated that nobody's talking about.
Yeah. Had a great game last week with Florida and LSU. Florida coming off the big win against Auburn. Heck of an effort. They fall short in Baton Rouge. This week they go to South Carolina to take on the Gamecocks, who are riding high after their win in Athens. Small line in this game for the Florida Gators with South Carolina riding high. Does Florida have much in the tank after the last 2 weeks?
Well, fellas, it's hard to believe that South Carolina getting their first win over a ranked opponent since 2014 Saturday against Georgia could beat back-to-back ranked opponents. And I do think Florida's getting better each and every week. But I'm almost going to play this because of the defense is like an NFL game. And most NFL games, if you go back and look, are decided by a possession. And this number is sitting at 6. As long as Zelensky doesn't make the mistakes, I think at home, a team that's got a lot of confidence and the ability to turn Jake Fromm over the 4 times that they did this past weekend, you know, I think, you know, you can force a couple of mistakes out of Kyle Trask, and I think this South Carolina defense can keep them in it. I think I'm going to take 6 points here.
Texas A&M is at Ole Miss. I think we've learned Texas A&M's an average football team. Ole Miss, I liked Ole Miss better when they weren't a 2-quarterback team.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Corral probably needs to sit down and just let Plumlee run wild. I mean, this guy is super fast and almost 150 yards on the ground against Missouri and a couple of touchdowns. And I think he can have success on the ground against this A&M defense. You go back to his start against Alabama, he had success with the legs against, you know, one of the better defenses in college football. So I kind of like, hopefully you see more Plumlee if you back Ole Miss here. But again, catching 6 points, I'll take the dog here. I just don't think A&M's very good.
Yeah. Tennessee, congratulations on your win. Now head to Tuscaloosa. And it is a massive number for Alabama this week. But Alabama hasn't fared well against, or Tennessee hasn't fared well against Alabama, obviously. They're not scoring points against Alabama. That was nice last week, but this is a different animal heading to Tuscaloosa.
It is, but it's a massive number, and I've seen it up to 35 in some shops right now. And Jeremy Pruitt maybe did the right thing if you want a Tennessee cover by going on record this week and saying Nick Saban's actually been kind to former assistants who he's now 18-0 against by letting off a little bit and maybe not scoring 100 points. Now, they put a 58 spot on Tennessee last year, and I think it's probably more of the same this year. But, you know, if you're going to give me 35 points to a Tennessee team that is at least scratching and clawing and at least showing some effort for Jeremy Pruitt, I'll take the dog here. So 3 consecutive dogs for me, but I'll take Tennessee plus 35.
Yeah, UT's certainly shown a little life the last couple of weeks. A big one in the Big Ten this week, not involving Ohio State or Wisconsin. It's Michigan at Penn State. It doesn't seem like a great spot for James Franklin. Hasn't had success in big matchups until last week, getting that win against Iowa. But they're at home taking on a Michigan team that's been a little tough to figure out this year.
Yeah, and what gives? You know, I thought Iowa would actually, you know, beat Penn State, give them their first loss last weekend, and we were a 2-point conversion away from covering that game. Penn State's lost 4 of their last 5 against Michigan, including 42-7 in Ann Arbor last year, where Shea Patterson actually looked pretty good. But I think the better quarterback in this matchup, at least right now, is Sean Clifford, and something's got to give because Michigan's now lost 7 consecutive games to top 10s. I'm actually going to back the favorite here. I like Penn State minus the 9.
NFL, what have we learned in the NFL other than Washington's a little better than Miami?
My Rams aren't very good, fellas.
Yeah.
And I had a feeling coming into this year it was going to be a 10-6 like year. I just didn't realize the offense would completely collapse. No Todd Gurley right now. Malcolm Brown is the guy, and it's just not enough. And you're going against kind of a patchwork offensive line, and Jared Goff's an overpaid quarterback. But we're talking about a Rams team now for the first time in the McVay era has lost 3 consecutive games. They've lost 4 of their last 7 games going back to Super Bowl 53. And, they get kind of a break on the road with Atlanta, but that's still a very losable game. So, to me, the story in the NFC has been the emergence of San Francisco with a healthy Garoppolo and really a physical defense. But at the same time, with how bad the Rams are playing right now.
Yeah. What do you like this week in the NFL?
Well, I went against New Orleans this past weekend, and I said, it's been pretty amazing that Bridgewater, the highest-paid backup quarterback in the NFL, has been able to go 3-0 with Drew Brees being sidelined. And I thought, better opponent on the road against Jacksonville, that would be the loss. I'm going to continue to push that. I didn't get that right, but now they travel to Chicago to take on maybe the best defense in the NFL. This number is New Orleans 3. I mean, I like Teddy Bridgewater. He's playing out of his mind right now, but I just don't see him going to 5-0 as a starting quarterback, especially against this defense. I'll take the Bears plus the points.
Bears plus the points. And you can get picks like this at lanceslock.com. What do folks get when they go to the website?
Yeah, we've been rolling, fellas. I mean, again, we went on Thursday. We went on Friday. Depending on what you had LSU at, we went on Saturday. Some people got a push, so it was kind of a push-out day if you didn't get LSU under the 14. We won on Sunday. We won Monday night with Detroit. So we're going to win for you. It's real simple, lanceslock.com. That's lanceslock.com, $90 a month. It's great value. Check it out.
Awesome. Lance, always a pleasure, man. We appreciate it. We'll talk next week.
Yeah, love talking to you guys. See ya.
Thanks, man. Lance Taylor joining us from WJOX in Birmingham. It is a big one for South Carolina this week as they're catching 7 against the Florida Gators. How much does Florida have left in the tank?
A lot. I think if I'm Florida, you're going to say, look, we played well against LSU and kept them off the field and still lost by 2 touchdowns. And the thing with Florida, to me, that's always been impressive is, and you saw it even this week, is Dan Mullen, for all his faults, is pretty creative on offense and can get things done. And I don't know who South Carolina is going to be at playing a quarterback because they saw guys going down left and right in that game against Georgia. They also lost their best wide receiver in that game, and they lost another, I think, one of the linemen too. So I think Florida's going to blow him out a little bit here.
Well, Will Muschamp's riding high.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
He's fired up after the win over Georgia, and he should be. Talked about that win and going forward.
A great college football game, and it's hate for anyone to lose in that situation, especially the way it happened. Rodrigo Blankenship is and has been an unbelievable representative of the University of Georgia and kicker. And, his heart goes out to him to lose in that fashion. He's an outstanding young man, and he's about all the right things in college athletics. But really proud of our guys. You show a lot of mettle, a lot of toughness. You talk in terms of the character of the program, the culture of the program, the leadership of the program, and the character of the young men in that locker room. We've been through a lot this year. We've been very inconsistent to this point. And the bottom line is we did what we had to do to win the ball game. Hey, our kids fought their ass off. You can't question that as far as our football team is concerned, how hard they play. We need to be a little more consistent and figure some things out moving forward. But we're going to enjoy tonight and start getting ready for Florida tomorrow. They've got a good football team.
South Carolina's first win against top 25 opponents since 2016. Now they got to try and do it again.
If you had asked me to invent a name for a South Carolina kicker, Parker White would have been pretty high up on my list.
It seems that.
Yeah, that's just like the perfect central casting right there.
Right. South Carolina, 4 of their last 5 have gone under. They've covered 4 of their last 5 at home. They're 12-4 against the spread as an underdog. Now 16-18 against top 25 opponents. They did win last week. Florida, meanwhile, 6 of their 7 games on the road, 6 of their last 7 on the road have gone over, and 31-1 when they outrushed their opponents, which sure seems like that could be the case this week against South Carolina. The Gamecocks have covered the last 2 in the series. Both games have gone over. South Carolina actually 5-4 in the last 9 meetings. A couple of other SEC matchups. Auburn 18.5 at Arkansas. Forgot about Auburn being off last week. They've been away. 5-1 against the spread this year. 4 of them have gone under. 9-3 against the spread in their last 12. Meanwhile, Arkansas has covered 6 of their last 8 at home, although they've lost 14 straight against SEC opponents. Head-to-head, Auburn's won 3 straight games in 5 of 6. They've covered the last 3, outscoring Arkansas 142-29. That's an average of 47 to 9.7. That would cover for Auburn.
Yeah, that'd be good.
14 of the last 18 in this series have been decided by 17 or more points. And Mizzou 21.5 at Vanderbilt. Mizzou 4-1 against the spread. They've won 19 of their last 24 in the regular season. Vanderbilt, what a disgusting performance that was last week against UNLV. They're 0-6 against the spread this year, 2-8 against the spread. Their last 10 at home. Their last 34 SEC losses, 23 have been by double digits. 3-34 against top 25 opponents as Mizzou sneaks into the top 25 this week, and 40-61 against the spread in the month of October.
We talked about Missouri at the beginning of the year being a team that could go like 10-2. They're 5-1 right now. They still have Vandy, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Arkansas on their schedule. They could 10-2. I feel like still in play for them.
It's still in play.
Yeah.
That Wyoming loss was
killed them.
just a killer. Head-to-head, Missouri 7-3-1 all time against Vandy. The last 5 in the series have gone under. We'll take a break here on the Odds Couple. Come back. We'll have numbers for a couple of other SEC games and the Memphis Tigers this week as they host Tulane. Plus, we'll have our picks before we get out of here. It's the Odds Couple here on Grind City Media.
The voice, the hits, the tour. The wait is over. Celine Dion, Courage, World Tour. February 9th, FedEx Forum. The first North American tour in over a decade. Reserve seats on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Celine Dion. Produced by Concerts West. Get tickets now.
Grizz Nation! Download the all-new, all-access, all-in-one Grizzlies mobile app. Get 3 new experiences with one app, including a fresh Grizzlies look and feel, along with new access to FedEx Forum events and Grind City Media news and notes on all things Grizzlies, football, and more. From podcasts to purchasing tickets, playing Pop-A-Shot, and more, the new Grizzlies app has it all. So don't delay. Upgrade your experience and download the new Grizzlies app today. Available now at the App Store and Google Play.
Grizz Nation. All new 10, 22, and flex packs for the Grizzlies 2019-2020 season are on sale now. Save big on single game prices and guarantee your seats to the best games and promotions for the upcoming year, including the Lakers, Warriors, and more. Choose from half season, weekend, and big game plans, plus enjoy extended payment options, all starting at $12 per game. Get your new pack today and call 901-888-HOOP or shop at grizzlies.com.
Welcome back to the Odds Couple on GrindCityMedia.com. Live from FedEx Forum and the American Home Shield Studio. Here's the Odds Couple, Rob Fisher and Lang Whitaker.
The 3 most prolific bands in Christian music, Casting Crowns, Hillsong Worship, and Elevation Worship, have joined forces for an arena tour that will stop at FedEx Forum on Friday, November 1st. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, by phone at 800-745-3000, or at the FedEx Forum box office. Welcome back to the Odds Couple, getting you set for Week 8 of the college football season as we recapped a little bit of Week 7 of the season. We'll have our picks coming up here in moments. Ole Miss Rebels are home this week after a tough loss in Columbia, Missouri last week. They are getting 6 points at home against an average Texas A&M team, a team that is coming off a loss against Alabama. Sometimes Alabama can get you twice, and with A&M, I don't know where they're really good.
No.
Which is makes this one a weird game to pick because Ole Miss isn't a great team either, let's don't be wrong. But Ole Miss, at least with Plumlee at quarterback, has shown that they can be dangerous.
Yeah, but then they're not going to play Plumlee at quarterback all the time.
Yeah.
They're running him in and out. And Matt Luke is like the textbook definition of a large adult son, the phrase you hear.
Right.
He looks like a child who somehow is in an adult's body, and that's kind of how I feel about Ole Miss. Like, I don't really know what to make of this team, and I don't trust – it feels like this should be a Rich Rodriguez team, not a Matt Luke team. And until it is, I don't know what to make of them.
Yeah, well, here is Matt Luke talking about using 2 quarterbacks.
I think we're trying to find a way to win football games. We're really pleased with those guys being unselfish, cheering for each other, pulling for each other. Again, looked like we had a good rhythm going, using both of them and using their strengths. So, but again, really proud of those guys trying to find a way to move forward and win football games.
I think I just heard Roser slam his head into the desk when he heard that quote.
Yeah, I can't remember situations where that's actually been effective.
No, ever.
Matt Corral's Matt Luke and Matt Corral. They're the only two people who think it's a good idea to play two quarterbacks.
Yeah, I guess it seems as though he's scared at this point of losing Matt Corral.
They were swapping quarterbacks play by play in that last game. They were running them in and out.
Wait, Plumlee's a freshman, isn't he?
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
Why are you afraid of losing Matt Corral? One is obviously better than the other.
Plumlee's going to get a hit at some point and go out for a while.
Yeah.
That's coming the way he plays. So you need somebody there to be the backup. I don't know who their third quarterback is, but that's really, to me, this is the indictment of whoever that third string guy is.
Yeah. Ole Miss 1-8 against the spread as a dog, 10-19 against the spread the last 3 years. They're 3-9 against the spread against SEC opponents, although they have covered 3 of the last 4. Over in 4 of their last 5 and under in 6 of their last 9. At home, A&M 1-4 against the spread this year. 4 games have gone under. 5 of the last 6 on the road have gone under, and 20-14 their last 34 on the road. A&M 8-3 against Ole Miss. They've won the last 2 and covered both, and the last 5 in this series have gone under the total. Kentucky's at Georgia. Bulldogs giving 25 against this Kentucky team. Kentucky hasn't covered their last 3 games. Last 3 have gone under. 14-10 against the spread as a dog, but 4-15 against the spread following a conference game for Kentucky. And they've lost 26 of 28 on the road against top 25 opponents. Georgia, meanwhile, the numbers are good, but they lost all of these last week. 22-12 against spread last 34, 15-6 against the spread against the SEC. However, 18-34 against the spread during weeks 5 through 9 at home.
I think Georgia's going to be fine.
I do too. 15 of their last 16 home wins by 14 or more points.
Remember last year they went into Lexington and it was like a big match. I think Kentucky was undefeated at the time, and then Georgia just crushed them, and I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, Georgia's won 9 straight. They've covered 5 straight in the series. And the Memphis Tigers home to Tulane. They're given 4.5 points, total at 61. Memphis 4-1 against the spread this year. The only one they didn't cover was last week. 8-1 against the spread at home against conference opponents. 8-1 against the spread at home their last 9, including covering their last 6. And 19-36 against the spread when they're a 3.5 to 10-point favorite. Tulane is 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 games, but 97-129 against the number as a dog. Head-to-head, Memphis has won 11 of their last 12, 5 straight at home. They did lose last year. Big bounce back for Memphis. And I think Mike Norvell, one thing through his tenure that I've really admired is they seem to put bad games behind them and move on to the next one, and I expect that from the Tigers this week.
It'd be good if they didn't have those bad games.
That would help.
2 or 3 a year to keep having to leave behind.
That's right.
But,
time for our picks this week. We'll start with Fish's 5. My 5 picks for this week. I do like the Memphis Tigers minus the 4.5 against Tulane. I think good bounce back at home. Take out their anger this week on the green wave. I like Alabama. It is a huge number, but I don't see Tennessee scoring more than 10 points in this game. I just don't, and I know Alabama's going to score over 40. So I'm going to go with the Tide. I'm taking Michigan plus the 9.5 against Penn State. Don't like James Franklin in this position. Michigan maybe playing a little bit better. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But Jim Harbaugh has no success against top 10 opponents. But James Franklin hasn't had success in games like this either. South Carolina, I'm taking the Gamecocks plus the 5.5 against the Gators. I think a good defensive game. I think Florida wins it, but they'll win it by a field goal. And I'm taking Auburn over Arkansas, 18.5. I think they blow by the Razorbacks this week.
I agree with you on Memphis and Alabama. I'm going Penn State instead of Michigan. I don't trust Jim Harbaugh. I don't trust Patterson. And Penn State found their running back last week, it feels like. And that Iowa-Penn State game was – I should have gotten hazard pay for watching that thing. But I think Penn State's going to win. I'm taking Florida. And then LSU's given 19.5, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'll give that and feel like we're going to win that one.
Those picks that we just made, you can find all of those picks on the Grind City Media Pick'em panel, which is released each and every Friday. All the members of Grind City Media, Roser and Devin Walker, Megan Triplett, Michael Wallace, Eric Hasseltine, Chris Vernon, all on the panel. Lang, myself, on that panel. We pick 8 games against the spread each and every week, and that's released on Friday. You can check that out at Grind City Media. But we do like to go off the grid as well each week. Which team are you going off the grid with this week?
We talked about trust earlier. I talked about how there's certain people I trust and don't trust. I trust betting against Georgia Tech every week.
Right.
It's been a boon financially for me this season. And last week they ended up not covering the 18.5 against Duke when Duke didn't put the pedal down and let them creep back in there and lose by 18. But they're giving 18 this week against Miami. Let's go.
Yeah.
Come on, Miami. Actually, last night I got home after the Grizzlies game, and the Duke-Georgia Tech game was on TV, a replay of it, and I sat down and had a drink and watched that and just enjoyed watching Georgia Tech get dismantled. So I'm going to say with that one. And then are we going to talk NFL now too? Yeah. I went against Lance last week, and the previously undefeated Lance in the NFL, and I won, and I'm doing it again this week. New Orleans Saints have now covered 15 October games in a row. We're still in October, as far as I can tell. And
Roaster, what's the Bridgewater number? Do you remember the number?
Yeah, because I'm with you on this one. Yeah. Like, I did it last week. I made the mistake of going against the Saints and taking the Jags. I'm not doing it again in this week. Teddy Bridgewater, 27-7 against the spread as a starting quarterback.
That's amazing.
I also just love it as a Falcons fan. The only thing I have to cheer for is a little bit of like disharmony in New Orleans.
Right.
And so all my Saints friends, I've been texting them almost weekly, saying things like, wow, Bridgewater is really pulling it together. Sorry to see Breeze go out this way. And they're like, no. But, there's a part of them that's like, right. So just from a karma's sake, I think Bridgewater's got to keep putting these wins together and just to keep sowing a little bit of doubt there in the Saints nation.
All right, Roser, you're going with the Saints as well?
Yeah, I'm going to go the Saints plus the 3 in college football. That's actually the one I had. My first NFL loss was the Patriots one, and then I got another one because I had the Jags or what, I don't remember, whatever. But we're gonna go with college. I can give you a bunch of them, but the one I texted y'all.
Which one you texted us 12?
Well, we're going Johnny first half here. The one I texted Kimball. I'm gonna go with SMU minus the 4.5 in the first half against Temple. Temple put everything they had into that Memphis game, and SMU coming off the bye week had their scare against Tulsa the week before. And if you look at the Memphis-Temple game, Temple's defense got turnovers. They got 4 turnovers, and then a turnover on downs. When Memphis wasn't just crapping on themselves and turning it over, they moved the ball on Temple. They didn't have problems moving the ball up and down on them. SMU's going to air it out. SMU's not going to have a problem covering that one. We're going to go back to Ohio State minus the 15.5 in the first half against Northwestern. The whole game spread it went from 25.5. It's up to 29 now. It'll probably be at 30 by the time they kick off on Friday. But I'll take the 15.5. Ride it till it doesn't. Ride it till it dies. UCF minus the 20 in the first half against East Carolina. LSU minus the 10 in the first half against Mississippi State. Missouri minus 11.5 in the first half against Vanderbilt. And I'm going to take Oklahoma State minus 1.5 in the first half against Baylor. Oklahoma State coming off the bye. Baylor's had some tough games they've played here a lot recently. A lot of tough games they played recently. Oklahoma State coming off the bye. They want to get the bad taste of the Texas Tech loss where they got blown out by the Red Raiders. Want to get that out their mouths. They'll come back, bounce back with a strong first half against Baylor.
Yeah, my college game off the grid. Clemson put it all together last week in what they did to Florida State.
Screw them.
I think we know where you were last week.
My God.
I'm going with Clemson minus 24.5 against Louisville.
Well, how about that game? That is the second time in his career Kendall Briles, as an offensive coordinator, has been held under 17 points.
Yeah.
Second time in his career.
That was an impressive defensive performance by Clemson, and I think Louisville, with all the points they scored last week as well, they left them all out there. I'll take Clemson minus the big number. Also in the NFL, I'm going with your 49ers, John.
Boy.
They're playing Washington, and Washington's a little bit better than Miami. They're terrible. And I think San Francisco's proven themselves to be one of the best teams in the National Football League.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the point totals on this. If you look at it, the only team that has scored 20 points against the Niners this year is Pittsburgh. And the 49ers turned it over 5 times in the game.
Yeah.
And that's how they basically got their 20 points, because the first couple of ones, the 49ers held them to field goals, but all the turnovers were in their own territory. Pittsburgh just, boom, kicks a field goal. So if not for those turnovers, Pittsburgh isn't scoring 20 on them. The Bucs got 17, but one of those was a pick 6. So, yeah, I'm interested to see. It is how many points can Washington score?
Right.
You know, less than 20.
Yeah.
So can the 49ers score over 30 against them? We'll see.
I would think so. I'm taking the Niners minus the 10. All right, that's going to do it for the odds couple this week. As Week 8 is now upon us. And we want to thank Lance Taylor, who joins us each and every week here on the program from WJOX in Birmingham. So thanks to him for joining us as he does each and every week. Don't forget to check out lanceslock.com. Also, thanks to Vinnie Verno for joining us on the telephone as he joins us from parts unknown, or he was in Oxford, actually, this week. Thanks to Kimball and Scott and everyone behind the scenes. Thank you, Roser. Appreciate it. Thank you, Lang. For Lang, I'm Fish. Thanks for joining us here on The Odds Couple. We'll do it again next week here on Grind City Media.
You've been listening to The Odds Couple from the American Home Shield Studio on GrindCityMedia.com. Tune in next week for more football handicapping with Rob Fisher and Lang Whitaker.